to our ChangeMaker interview series. In these series, we will have a chat with the most inspiring and influential people in business about leadership, success, and change. They give us their feedback on what they've learned about good leadership, advice on how to become more successful, and they share their stories on how to approach change for better results. Today, we're honored to interview Andrew Federowsky, co-founder of Bartercard. Bartercard recently celebrated its 25th birthday, and in those years, Andrew has shown great leadership in growing Bartercard on a regional, national, and international level, as it has been recognized as the largest trade exchange company in the world. Well done, Andrew. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I don't know how far you want me to go back, but I grew up in Germany, did my high school there, left high school to have a career with Mercedes-Benz, learned mechanical engineering with them, and you might laugh, but sort of at the time, Australia was being promoted very heavily in Europe for the 1988 World Expo, and to top it all off, Crocodile Dundee, the movie came out, and I thought that'll be a nice country to go, and I put that one on my goal list, and gave myself a couple of years to make it reality, and in August '88 I set foot in this beautiful country. Realized very quickly that I didn't actually speak any English when it was a bit tough to communicate. You don't realize, because the movies in Germany, they are actually dubbed, so you're watching Crocodile Dundee actually speaking perfect German. So when I came here, I realized that wasn't quite the case, and I wanted to buy some parts for a car that I was working on, because that was my background. I couldn't explain to the car sales guy what I wanted. He just threw me out, said I was a bloody crowd and I should come back when I learned the language. I thought that was a really good point. Rough way of saying it, but it was a good point. So I told my friends that I was hanging out with at the time, realized they were also German. It's amazing how you run into Germans when you don't speak English. So I told them to, from now on, speak English to me and not German anymore. Otherwise I wasn't going to learn anything. So I was looking for a girlfriend straight away to practice a little bit more, as well German, English, I mean. So, and then I was just doing a few deals just to sort of keep my head above the water as I was learning the language and so on. And I was out one night and I ran into a guy that was talking about this trade exchange business that sort of really intrigued me. A few days later I went to see him, learned about the concept, and actually worked with this company for a couple of years, but I thought we could do better. I met one of the founders there as a franchisee, another founder was a client, we all became good friends, and in '91 we started off with Bartercard. The rest is history. So on a personal side, while I now enjoy a lot more free time, when I was running Bartercard International, I was traveling 250 days a year. That was always a bit difficult. You don't have a personal life. But I actually do like a little bit of water sports, a bit of boating. I love cars. I've got a small collection of cars that I like to take depending on the weather. It's either got a roof or it hasn't got a roof. So motorsports is a bit of my passion.
Lovely, that's really great to hear. I also remember your story about when you were traveling that much that when you got home that basically the dogs didn't even recognize you. The
dogs thought I was an intruder. My wife always had to get used to me again. It took like sort of 3 days. My friends called me by my surname. I thought at some stage that just wasn't really good, And I was wondering if I have to apply for immigration again just to get back,
Well, we're happy to have you back.
Thank you.
All right. What has been your greatest learning in business?
Well, there's a number of things that you learn, and till today I learn every day. The greatest learning is when you probably see that one specific thing either always goes wrong or always defines people, always makes a difference. And it's not really one thing, it's sort of 2-3 things in a row. Is determination, drive, hard work, motivation, aim high. You've got to have a bit of an ego, but you've got to be humble. While this seems to be in a bit of a conflict, but the people that combine this seems to have made it bigger and better than a lot of other people. So I thought, if you can sort of be in this direction, it can't be a bad thing. And I look at people now that I know that have had great success in their business or careers, and they all mirror that kind of combination.
What 3 tips can you give to someone to turn their business dream into reality?
I'm sure that your listeners have heard this a million times, but there's no statement truer than you have to have a business plan. If you don't plan where you're going, how would you know when you get there? How would you know where you are in progress? What do you measure it against? So number one, you got to have a plan. And then secondly, when things get tough, you just don't give up. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. And that cliche exists for a reason. When things get hard, that's when the majority gives up. If you want to be successful in business, you got to go and break through that barrier. I mean, imagine trying to establish an alternative currency in Australia in early 91. Do you think that was going to be easy? No, but we knew that we were going to go and push through those walls and the resistance and come out on the other side. So if you want to come out on the other side, you've got to go hard. Never give up. Aim high. Have a business plan. Those things come together. And then deliver. Be the best you can be. I know there's more than 3 things, but they're the fundamentals from what I've worked out.
Great. Thank you for that. How would you describe success, and when did you feel that you were successful?
Well, that's a really good question, and probably one I could answer for the next few hours because it changed all the time. When I was in my 20s, I thought success was have a great lifestyle, have a jet ski, be on the beaches of Surfers Paradise. Remember, I'm coming from Germany, cold country, everything is grey and so on. So I was highly successful just getting here. But then you see the people that have got the toys that you want to play with, and then you judge them to be successful because they have got the materialistic things. And I think in the early years, that's when people get success confused with how much someone has got collected. When I turned sort of in my 30s, all of a sudden the things that I was aiming for in my 20s weren't all that important anymore. So it doesn't just turn off like this, but things start changing. Your values start changing. Your life experience changed, and then your definition of success changes. So in my 30s, some of the toys were less important. Meeting new cultures around the world was becoming a little bit more important to me. And not just being a tourist on the street in Bangladesh or something, but actually talking to the locals, finding out what their lifestyle really is, what they're earning, what they're spending, how much is the rent, how much is a meal, how much do they get paid for a month's worth of, polishing shoes, that kind of stuff. So that enriches immensely, and riches then in experience rather than in finance. Then you get into the 40s, and all of a sudden you find yourself start giving stuff away, and that also becomes straightly satisfying. So you go and, of the last, 5 to 10 years, we have given, I don't want to put a number in, but a huge amount of support to various charities, mostly around children in distress, rather than, adults or, of course we do a lot of sponsorship and getting athletes into other countries and so on, and that is all great. But when you can make a difference in something like, our last one was the Hummingbird House, terminally ill children. They got between 1 and 3 months to live, and they want to make a real difference. They don't want to have them in hospital with tubes hanging out. They want to make a real difference in their last few weeks. The parents move in with them, and they want to give them an experience. And contributing to that kind of thing was strangely satisfying. If you would have asked me when I was 20, hey, why would you donate hard-earned money to anybody when you could buy another toy, another something,
It sounds very beautiful.
It's very... So success, if I had to put it in one sentence, is if you achieve that you have set out to do. And if that is you wanted to knit a jumper because you can't knit, once you actually get to do it, I mean, that would be success. You know, if you wanted to build your own garden shed and it doesn't fall apart within a week or after a heavy storm, then that's probably success too. If you wanted to have people that you can trust in your life, and when you have one of those, then that would be success too.
That sounds great. And what is your most fond memory of when you really thought, this is how I feel successful?
I would never really think of, oh, you know, now I'm successful and so on. I mean, whilst I have an ego, like most people in business have, I wouldn't go and say, oh wow, you know. I had a bit of a reality check early on. One of my really good friends said to me, mate, if I didn't know you any better, I think you're turning into a bit of an a-hole. And that was sort of hard-hitting. And that sort of made me think a little bit, you know, if you don't forget your roots and on what journey you're on, and stay conscious to stay a real person, then, you know, it makes it all so much more real. But I can give you one example where I sort of, you know, sometimes you see it in a movie where it's almost like you want to step outside your body, do a bit of a dance, and then go back in your body when you realize what is happening right now. It's just off the scale. And that was, I was invited to meet the King of Jordan at a symposium, and part of the whole agenda was that I was also having lunch with his brother, and I was late. So part of this symposium was we had a stand there and we represented Bartercard. The reason why we got invited was that our licensee in Jordan was going gangbusters. It attracted the attention of the royal family, and they sent me an invitation to come and join. So I thought I was going to go for lunch in a room with a few hundred people and nobody would notice. Little did I know, instead of sitting somewhere in the group of a few hundred people on some table and I wouldn't be noticed, I was sitting on the very table that the Prince of Jordan was at, and it was only 6 seats, so I couldn't really disappear in the masses. The guy who was organizing the affairs, when he saw me coming, he was very nervous. Very nervous. He, oh, Mr. Andrew, you're late. So he drags me along, we go to the table and we're going, towards the table at the front. We are walking through all these tables, and the closer we're getting, I'm thinking I'm getting a bit more visible here now. Like, I'm late, thank you for taking me on parade. And then we stop at the table and they already filled the seat that I was on, and they told the guy that was on my seat to move on. They cleared his plate, they set me in the seat, and like, how embarrassed can you get? So while I normally don't get nervous or impressed with people, when you turn up late for lunch with a royal family member, it requires a bit of practice to stay cool. So I was a bit nervous, and I was trying to put my words together, how to apologize to a prince that you were late. And I have to say that I probably didn't really know exactly how to judge the prince and his brother, the king, but they were both top guys. Their English was a lot better than mine, very educated English, sort of, from memory, sort of a Canadian-American style. They obviously have travelled a lot, so their accent is very mixed, but, and the guy said, relax, it's all good. I said, I'm really sorry that someone stopped me, and they're all, and it was true, they're all important people. So there's the defense minister of some Arab country stops you and wants to talk to you, and there's the prince of Saudi Arabia. Well, there's hundreds of them, but anyway, one guy says, I'm the prince so and so. You got to give him some respect. So, and I stopped, and when they asked me about Bartercard, well, you know, I can't stop. So I was late, only a few minutes, but he filled me with a lot of, you know, ease straight away, relaxed me, and he said, look, please choose an entree, we'll wait. And I said, I skipped the entree, and we'll just get into the main course. No, we're happy to wait, we'll just have a chat. So the more he was very relaxed kind of conversation, I thought, this guy is humble and for real, and I liked it straight away. So as all the guards were down, and we were like going through our main course, that was the moment when sort of my inner Andrew stepped out, did a dance next to the table, and then hopped back in the body, thinking, holy moly, here's a guy that is, that learned with Mercedes, had an apprenticeship with Mercedes, and fixed cars for a living, sitting here with the royal family only like 10, 15 years later. So
that sounds awesome.
It felt pretty special.
Great story. What do you consider your highest achievement? What are you proudest of?
Highest achievement, you would have to say building or being part of building Bartercard. It's obviously not just me or just the founders, it's all the people that were part of the journey. But one of sort of the proudest moments that I can sort of remember was where we have an undercover car park at the Bartercard house, and I parked there, and you park there every day, and some days you're a bit more conscious than other days. Sometimes you arrive at work and you think, how did I do that? When your brain was somewhere else. So I step out of the car, and my car park was the first one in a whole row of cars. And I remember when we started, there were a lot of people that jumped onto our vision in '91 that drove old cars. I remember one of our franchisees, a Datsun 120Y or 180Y. Some other guy drove a Holden Kingswood. I mean, today they're considered classics. One lady a sales lady was driving a very old VW Volkswagen convertible, but a rust bucket. Anyway, that morning I looked past and everybody reversed into the car park. So I looked past all these bonnets of mainly European cars. And here was, our sales manager was driving a Jaguar convertible. My business partner was driving a Mercedes. The next one was a BMW. Then it was I think our admin manager was an MG convertible, and so on, and so on, and so on. And the whole row, there were at least 20 cars, all European cars. And all the bonnets, it was almost like on a car show, and it was that moment in time just froze. And I was very proud of the people that have taken the opportunity with Bartercard to build their lives, build their careers, and with those cars obviously goes a house and some holidays and some other things. And I remember someone sort of promoting, I think it was Google, was the company that created the most millionaires. I always thought, wouldn't it be great if you would be second or third on the row? And that view, that vision sort of made me quite proud that we were on the way of achieving that.
That's great. What is your view on money, and what is something money can't buy?
You have got all these people that say money can't buy happiness. But have you ever seen a guy on a jet ski in a bad mood? No. So what money can buy is probably the lifestyle, the freedom to do whatever you want to do. I mean, we are very lucky. We live in a country where on a really small budget you can live a lifestyle of the rich and famous. That it's just very beautiful. We live near the most beautiful beaches in the world, and trust me, I have seen a lot of beaches. But money is a facilitator. So if you wanted to create a bit of a lifestyle that is for you, for your family, it's a reward system. I always set a goal that I wanted to reward myself for the hard work, because I knew I was going to work hard. And the first few years it was like 14, 16 hours a day, 6, 7 days a week. So unless you reward yourself with something, why would you do it? So I think that is the one. And you set yourself up for later on. Your investments get a lot more, or they're a lot riskier in the beginning, in the early days, than what everything was red or black, red or black, red or black, in the 20s. So then you get into your 30s, and then you have a bet halfway, you put some money on the nose and the money on the place, for example. And then you get into your 40s, and then you put money in the bank or shares that pay good dividends. So everything is, so you're planning ahead, plan for your retirement, and if you work really hard, you might get to retire early and still enjoy life. There's no point buying a jet ski when you're 70. I might sound a little bit materialistic, but that's what I've experienced. And I grew up in a family with no money. So I've seen both sides, and trust me, I prefer the other one better. And you know, the thing is, when you're 20, you want all the money for yourself. I've experienced in my 40s that I was happy to share it with some other people. And you know, some of those kids I was talking about, they just can't make the difference. Or you know, it takes around about $8,000 to help a kid that can't hear with cochlear implants and so on, to get them their hearing back. So that's what money means. You know, money means hearing, money means eyesight, money means mobility, money means fun, money means travel, experiences. It means whatever you want it to be.
How do you stay continually motivated and inspired to keep growing?
I'd love to say it's genetic. I don't know. You know, every person, they seem to have some bad days during the year. I always used to have one, but the last few years I cancelled them. So I didn't even have a bad day. I'm always motivated. People always go and say, I'm having what he's having. I'm just high on life. If I was into drugs, I'd be dangerous. I'm high on life. I'm high on what we're doing. I tried to retire from Bartercard. You know, I retired on a Monday, was bored by Wednesday. I just love what I do. So if you get to do what you love to do, it's not hard to stay motivated. I think being inspirational is probably something that you create when, like, it's probably an energy that people follow into when you're doing what you love doing. Helps obviously when you've got a bit of an outgoing personality that people can sort of identify with and so on. Rarely do you find analysts, accountants, and I tap my head off to the profession. You know, we all need them. If we didn't have them, we'd probably be broke. But sometimes that personality profile doesn't lend to be this inspirational person. You know, look like someone like Richard Branson, for example. You know, I mean, I don't know how much he does in business, but he's definitely inspiration to his people. So it's probably because he loves what he does, and that works for me.
How do you maximize efficiency in your day?
I pondered about this quite a bit, and I'm a hopeless case. So the only way I could actually maximize my efficiency in the day is having a brilliant PA. That's the only way for me, and having a really good team. You just got to live with that people are better than you in their field of expertise. You don't have to get a dog and bark yourself. If you get someone that does the books, someone that does the legals, someone that does the somersaults, whatever it is in business, you get an expert that is far better than you, so the company performs well, and then the business is effective. You just have to manage and maximize the resources. If I try to do everything myself, it'd be a mess.
Lucky you have both a great PA and a good team, so that's good to hear. So what 2 things did you do to improve your personal performance and that of your team? Okay, personal performance is keep learning. And so that means you have to invest in yourself. Other than having to learn a language, I had to learn about business, because when I came to Australia, I was 23. Then we had a very fast growing company that was within the Queensland 400 of BRW very quickly, one of Australia's fastest growing businesses. We were creating an alternative currency. It all brings some responsibility. And people expect a bit more from you than just even to communicate in English. They expect you to be able to look at the financials so that they make sense. So I had to have a lot of catching up to do. The same goes for the staff. You have to invest in your people, because the people that lead the company will drag the company to their level, if that is up or down. So if you employ a bunch of untrained, unsavvy, unqualified people, then they will drag the business down. If you can have a great team of people inspired and you keep investing in them to
accumulate more and more knowledge and skill, then they will drag the business up, and that's where we want it to go. So it's a necessity.
What is the most important thing you've learned about leadership?
I would say there's a few things. You have to be a bit ballsy. Your staff or your people have to see that you're willing to go the extra mile. You're willing to break through a wall. You're willing to take a bullet for them. You're willing to have a fight for them. You will succeed in your business plan. You have to have that drive, the hard work, the passion, and so on. But what always seems to become most important at the end is that you're not some out of control egomaniac, but that you're humble and you can identify with your average normal person, because that's what your staff is, and that's what your clients are, and that's what you are. It's just in our minds sometimes we get bigger than Ben-Hur and think, we don't want to talk to this person anymore. But that is a recipe for disaster, really, if you start thinking you're better. I'll give you a small example. I just got on Facebook contacted by, in the Middle East they call them office boys, there's no better way to say it. So he was there every day, cleaning up things, doing the dishes, making cups of coffee for visitors and so on. So he contacts me on Facebook. Mr. Andrew, I don't know if you remember me, I'm Kamal, I used to be the office boy in Dubai. Of course I remember him. In fact, they're always the people that I saw first. When I walked in, if that was in Lebanon, in Jordan, in Egypt, I always went in the kitchen first. I sat down, had a chat with them, and they were just blown away because they get actually treated quite badly. And I wanted to set an example for everybody there, that these guys are just as important, to the whole operation. Then, so what if these people wouldn't get their coffees in the morning? There'd be a revolt, there'd be a mutiny, there'd be no work. So they're very important. So, being a bit humble and putting other people first will elevate you as a leader.
What areas in business should be continually monitored for improvement to ensure sustainable success? As Bartercard recently celebrated its 25th year, what do you think should be continually monitored for success?
Look, everybody needs to monitor, obviously, the financial side of the business. Too many people, they don't bill properly, they don't invoice, and then they don't collect their monies. That is a big mistake that people make in business. However, the customer service delivery is probably even more important. If you keep delivering what you say and what you promise, then the rest is a lot easier. So the customer service is the one that needs to be always monitored. We used to call it, we're scoping. Being an international franchise company, you have to have systems. With technology and sometimes processes improve, you need to re-look at what you're doing. And the priority was always the customer service interface, if that is today online user friendliness, being intuitive, being on the phone, being personal. That is the most important thing that needs to be monitored all the time. Are you still delivering what you promised? Are you still on trend? Are you doing plastic pens when they were out 5 years ago, for example? So yeah.
What are the 3 most common mistakes people make in business?
Well, it's really the flip side to my 3 tips. Not have a business plan. It's the biggest mistake. I can't believe there's like 95% of small to medium business haven't got a business plan. Well, again, if you don't know where you're going, how would you know how far you're in? If you get there, if you run past your goal, you just don't know. Secondly is do what you say. Or the flip side of it is don't make promises you won't keep. And I have found in Australia it's a bit of a bad habit that people don't either answer their phone, and that's okay if they're busy, but then you have to return your phone message or your email. So many people miss out on business all the time because they just don't manage their communication. Even a friend of mine the other day, she said, I've run 5 companies, I want some polished floor done. She runs a music studio, and like after 5 days or 7 days or so, no one has actually contacted her. You know, so there's business to be done, but people are just not doing it. And then, you know, you have got the concrete guy sitting in the pub complaining that there's nothing going on. It's because he hasn't actually called anybody back. What is he doing in the pub anyway? Friday at 2 o'clock.
What major challenge have you experienced in life, and how did you overcome this?
I'm living through my major challenges. Every day is a challenge. You know, just life is just a continuation of challenge. If it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. If it won't change you, then you're not actually growing. So if the challenges stop, it's probably when you're in the box. So the greatest challenge, I don't know, some people think immigrating to Australia was a great challenge. Going from Germany, which is sort of fairly, you know, narrow-minded, going into this big country that, you know, you can drive for hours without seeing a person sometimes, you know, and I've done this in the outback. Some of my family thought that was a great challenge. I didn't think it was that big. Mentally, I had a car accident and I was lying in a hospital, and the doctor said I was going to be in a plaster bed for at least 3 months because I broke my spine. They didn't know exactly how far it was broken, but they said if you moved wrong, you could be paralyzed forever. So that was mentally a big challenge. I didn't really overcome that because the spine was broken and the nerves never snapped, so I was fine. But
When did that happen?
back in Germany, I was snow on the street or black ice on the street.
Yeah.
I hopped on the brakes. I slid through the intersection. A car was coming to the intersection. Actually, the car couldn't stop either, but it was their turn to have green, and I sort of followed through on dark orange kind of thing, but I couldn't stop, and I T-boned that. Yeah, so that wasn't really good. And I was still organising my car to be towed away and so on, and I had back pains, and at night time they got worse and worse and worse, and then so a friend said, look, you got to go to the hospital. They did an X-ray, and I remember I had my jeans down here sort of somewhere between my ankles and my knees, and they did another X-ray, and then they called another doctor in, and they did another X-ray, and called another doctor and did another X-ray. I said, excuse me, is someone going to talk to me? All I can say is don't move. Okay, so now I got a bit freaked out. They called another doctor, another X-ray. I said, if you don't stop, I'm going to glow in the dark, you know. They took them 3 days to actually tell me that I had a break, and then through scanner they saw how far the break actually went. So it wasn't broken all the way through. It was just nicked, you know.
If you could name one thing someone should do to become more successful, what would it be?
Work harder. You know, when we started, there's a lot of people. I mean, the barter industry is a big industry. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. When you take in consideration that 80% of the Fortune 500 companies do some kind of barter, if it's with a barter organization like Bartercard, or if they've got a barter division, which means they've got some people, they just want to organize contra deals all the time instead of paying for things. Countries swap, corporations do trades all the time. Pepsi-Cola went into Russia because they did a deal, Russian vodka for Pepsi-Cola syrup. So even today, Pepsi-Cola is, because of a barter deal, still the most selling Coke in Russia because of that. So it's a huge, huge industry. And so it's big. There's a lot of players out there. How come that 3 guys from Australia that started playing in a pond where there was already plenty of people could build the largest barter company in the world? Not because we were smarter, because all of it, I mean, Brian, I think, was the only one with a university degree, but it was that we worked harder. there's a lot, when the industry emerged in Australia, there were like a dozen barter companies all kicked off. They came and went. And I think in Australia so far we probably had 30 or 40, maybe 50. But we outworked them. We weren't smarter, we just worked damn hard. That's why you're not at 2 o'clock in the pub when you're building a business, looking after a family and what have you.
What is the difference between the most expensive thing and the most valuable thing you ever possessed, and what is the story behind it?
That was an easy one, I would say. The most expensive one, without you asking the question, I'm not blowing my own trumpet, it's probably my house. The house that I live in, and I house my toys in and all that kind of stuff. But the most valuable one would probably be not even a thing. It'll be experiences and knowledge. So knowledge is power. Knowledge is everything in life. Something that you can pass on, something that you can help someone with, something that you can make a difference with. So that is a lot more valuable than a piece of something. I like nice things. I said I've got a car collection, I've got a watch collection, I've got a pen collection. I get bored of collecting stuff. But I got bored at airports. That's why I started collecting things. But it's actually not worth anything. It's what is really worth the value. Is a pen worth... One of my friends bought me a limited edition pen, and I think it was $5,000 or $6,000. It was a present. You know what? It is so valuable, I've never actually written with it. So what is really its value? You could use a pencil and write your memoirs, and then the pencil is worth more than a $6,000 pen. So, yeah, the knowledge and experience is definitely more valuable.
With your successful business experience, what quick tips can you give people to take their business to the next level?
Aim high, like higher than anybody else. And not just treat it as a cliche. Actually aim high. Put that in your business plan and aim high. Work hard. Just damn hard. Because if you don't, nothing will. You've got to lead from the front. When you're having a team of people, you got to lead from the front. You got to show that you're willing to do what it takes. Never give up, of course. That's last but not least. No matter what business you get into, if that is pest control, carpet cleaning, painting, IT, technology, retail, I bet it can't be more complex than trying to start up an alternative currency. Especially when you've got no banking, no finance background, and you're in a foreign country coming up with this kind of thing. Would there be a lot of obstacles in the way? Yes. Could we have given up? Yeah, we could have given up at hello. At the ASC, the ACCC, the tax office, the regulators, you name it. We pulled it up. We pulled it off because we never gave up. And no matter what business you're in, that's got to be part of your makeup. Never give up, because you're going to get knocked down. You're going to get knocked back. You're going to get beaten by your competitor. You're going to get outdone in a deal. You're going to find yourself on the floor. You're just going to pick yourself up and have another crack. So many people, it's like swimming 50-meter lane. At 45 meters, they give up and swim back. It's a lot harder to go back than it is to knuckle down and take the rest of the journey.
What would you like people to say on your funeral? Hopefully not anytime soon.
Thank Christ he's gone. No, I would like to be remembered by my friends like someone that they could trust and rely on. I was very lucky very early on. I was a fireman back in Germany, that I could actually trust people with my life. And it's a bit of an unusual experience, especially when you get that early in life. I think that shapes you a little bit. So if people would say, I was trustworthy and they could rely on me and they could trust me with their lives, that would be great. From a professional point of view, if people would say that I always did what I say, kept my word, delivered my promises, and created plenty of opportunities, that would be a real charm.
Any exciting future plans coming up that you would like to share with us?
Well, I think every day is exciting. Because every day is different. We're in such a lucky industry that no day is ever the same. So what is exciting? The next time you make somebody's Christmas, the next time you save somebody some money because they would have to otherwise pay for it in tax, help someone to afford the education for their kids. My next trip is to the Formula One in Singapore. That's exciting because I love cars and car racing. Other people think cars driving around in a circle all the time is really boring. So it's just, what is exciting for me might not be exciting for you. But on good advice, I'm planning to go to Cuba next year. But there's a few people that all go and say you got to go before it gets all really commercialized and so on. And obviously the moves are there with the restrictions being taken off. So I've taken that advice, and so we're sending a scout. It's actually my PA, and we let her step into the traps, and then. So I think that is exciting. So we're combining that with an Alaskan cruise. I still today, as I always have, like the travel when it's meeting new cultures, seeing new things, enriching, my life. So that's exciting.
Can you leave us with Andrew's top 3 lessons in life?
See, a lot of people say, oh yeah, I stick to my word. And then when it comes to, wow, this blunder is going to cost you, people start showing their colors. I always say, you got to stick to your word and deliver what you promise, even if it costs you, because that will prove if you're worth it. So that's the number one. You got to stick and deliver to what you say. I said, work hard, lead from the front. Don't lose focus. A lot of people lose focus. I mean, I'm quite an outgoing personality, so I'm not naturally focused. So I need the little tools like a vision board, something that I want to achieve. And if that is, if I want to buy something, if I want to see something, if I want to go somewhere, or if I want to give away something, if I want to take someone under my wing, if I wanted to create a scholarship program at Bond to teach people in the future about barter or something like that. You got to have a plan, you got to knuckle down, you got to be totally committed, and all the questions that you asked before about inspiration, motivation, training, investment in people, and so on, you put them all together, and that's your track from start to finish. So it's always about the plan and then deliver vigorously.
Thank you very much, Andrew, for your inspiring answers, and thank you to all our viewers and listeners for being part of our ChangeMaker interview series journey. We have another few great leaders on our list to be interviewed. We shall soon release our next inspiring interviewee. Stay tuned and don't forget to share, like, and comment on social media.